So we come to that part of the year where, hey, things start up again. It's the beginning of the semester, and I think these sort of videos that I make at the beginning of the semester are so pivotal, because I always say this, and it's very important. But how you start determines a big sort of chunk of how successful you end up actually being this year. Within, of course, your academics, most importantly, but obviously in a lot of other areas in your life. And I think a lot of the problems we face as we go into the semester, whether you start falling behind, whether you procrastinate excessively, whether you lack a lot of focus, whether you're struggling to absorb the content, a lot of these problems we end up facing have their origins at the beginning of the semester. So I really just want to break down for you and just give you as much perspective as possible into how to actually get the semester off to the right start, what habits to employ, what things to do, and how you can best set yourself up for success. So it's always a tricky one when we're speaking about how to go about starting your semester. I mean, you're literally coming off a very long sort of December break, Jan included, of course, depending on when you started. But you're coming off a very long break. You've been chilling, you've been living your best life. Maybe you got bored here and there, but I think it's often a nice break and a nice breather to just get out of academics a bit, and just have that time to spend with your family, spend with your friends, spend with yourself, and spend away from the books. So I think it's important that you don't get into the habit of being behind. Guys, I can't emphasize this enough. And this is advice that I wish someone gave me back when I was in varsity. I think especially, first, second, third year. I really wish I had this, but you being behind during this semester, and I think even just in the year in general, usually originates from how you start. And if you come off, with a sort of sluggish start, you're very slow to get into the semester. You're not consistent. You're not really there and present within the first 2 weeks, which is understandable, because obviously we've just gotten back from the break. We've just gotten back from the December, and we're sort of back into the swing of things. But the longer you take to get into the semester, to get into the work, and back sort of into the sort of that focus there, the longer you take to do this, the worse you make things for yourself later on. Because I think a lot of us have very short-term thinking, in the sense that you sort of prioritize your now, you prioritize maybe enjoyment now, or you prioritize relaxation now, you prioritize the good things for now, but later on it goes down. And obviously there are a lot of effects that can sort of knock on and end up impacting your academics, and might result in you failing, and even possibly, obviously we don't want this, but even getting excluded, guys. So I think in and amongst this, it's so important to adopt a long-term mindset as soon as possible. This is something that when I started very early on in my journey, I think it was sort of in my latter university years, in my third year. But once I started adopting a more long-term mindset in terms of how I see myself and what I want for the future Sifiso, I think I always just have that in my mind when I do actions, or when I do things during the day. I mean, obviously, guys, I'm not perfect, so I'm gonna make the mistakes here and there. I'm gonna falter here and there. But I think broadly, I always just have this concept of, what do I want the most for the future Sifiso? What do I want to achieve? What do I want to have in 10 years, 5 years, even just 1 year? What is that thing that I want for myself then? I clearly define that for myself, and then it results in me making sort of better decisions now, better decisions today because of what I want for myself in the future. And I'll give you an example. Obviously, I think I'm quite a hardworking person. I think I have to be to do all the things that I need to do. But obviously, getting content out to you guys is not easy. I'll be honest. It involves a lot of work. It really does. From the making the video itself to the editing, there's so much that goes into the process. And back in December, when everyone else was enjoying, when everyone else was, having fun with their December, going out, obviously I did spend time with family, but I think when everyone was enjoying their December, I spent 90 to 95% of my December working. I literally just spent it making, videos. I spent it planning the content for the year. I think there's so much behind the scenes work that you guys don't actually see that I have to do. Because if I'm gonna post, 2 times a week here on YouTube, if I'm gonna post on TikTok, LinkedIn, Instagram, and on the WhatsApp group every single day, if I'm gonna do that for you guys, I need to put in the work. And of course, I do have a full-time job. I work full-time in finance. So during the year, often I don't have too much time, especially when you start working overtime. So I knew that I wanted the future version of myself to not have to strain himself with having to try and balance, doing this Learn Smart thing and also working and stuff. So I just thought, let me front load, or let me do as much as I can up front for myself so that I don't struggle too much later on. Obviously, it's still going to be a lot of hard work, but I have made things easier for myself. And this is what I want for you guys. I want you guys to, have this thinking and make things as easy as possible for you. Because yes, guys, you must work hard. You must work, insanely hard throughout the year. But also there's an element of, working smart as well. I think when you start working smart, you're able to sort of spread the workload for yourself over the entire semester. You don't have to now cram 2 weeks before the exam. Now you're overwhelmed because there's too much work to study, and there's a lot of modules, and maybe some you're not doing too well, and now this is where the burnout starts to happen. This is where you start getting in your own head, you start losing confidence, and you end up just losing yourself in the journey, and then things end up not going well. So I think that's how that spiral usually happens. But the more you do for yourself up front, the better you start the semester, basically, the better your prospects at success. I think this is what this video literally boils down to. So adopt that long-term mindset. And along with these sort of first 2 points here, I think a lot of us, we only start seeking help once, things start going down, when when it starts getting tough, when things are really, when it's evident for us that, things are not going well based on the results or just based on your overall feelings. And I often feel that we ask for help way too late. I mean, there comes a point in time where even just the people who want to help you, like the lecturers or even the tutors, the people who are there for you, they can only do so much because you're already so far into the journey, so far into the process and the academic year. So another thing just to keep in mind, and I think this is one of the main things that got me through my postgraduate diploma or my CTA year, it's literally just asking for help as early as possible. This is so important. The more you delay something, obviously we feel that I can always solve it later, I can always do this later, I can always later. We end up postponing so much that when later comes, there's so many things we packed for later that it becomes too much for the future us to handle, and we become overwhelmed, of course. So I think if you just take time, even now early in the semester where you can, to just sort out your issues, sort out your problems, consult with lecturers as early as possible. even 2 weeks, into lectures, you're seeing that there's a certain section you're not understanding, and even though your semester test is like a month away, or a month and a half, 2 months, however long it is, it doesn't matter. That's irrelevant. But you have a problem now. You're struggling to understand this now. Let me sort this out now, and I think as well, whilst the information is still fresh in my mind, and before things have gotten too much, and you give yourself sort of time to better assess the information, and I think as well to better understand it, because when you're trying to understand information, when there's a lot of things you need to do, you're less effective. So it's important to obviously be as kind to yourself as possible, and this is literally done by you just, as I said, as early as possible, go to the lectures, go to tutors, get the help you need as early as possible, because the earlier you do this for yourself, really guys, the better. And the better the situation you put yourself. And when that later comes, you've already solved so many problems that you've had during the year, during the semester, that you open up your plate to refine the content. And I think this is where now you start getting the good marks. This is where your 60s come in, your 70s, even potentially 80s, 90s, no matter how sort of high you're aiming. But this is where these good marks come. They don't come in you understanding content late. It comes in you understanding content as soon as possible, then refining it towards exams. So I really want to get you guys on as good of a start as possible. I think it truly is important, because if you don't start well, your chances of succeeding are a lot less. And I think a lot of us come in with the sort of high school mindset. And I think this is some, last point that I want to add in here. A lot of us come in with the high school mindset of, this is how I passed high school. This is, guys, I did this and I got like 70, 80. It's not that hard. I'm just going to do the same thing. Or maybe you had a certain mindset in first year that, guys, this is what I did in my first few modules. I just literally studied for a few hours and I passed. Like, guys, come on. It's not that difficult. And you come with that same mindset into, the current year or your future years. And it's important to understand that you cannot adopt the same thinking you had in order to solve future problems. Because things get harder as you go along. Things get more complex. And I think even the workload gets a lot more. Obviously, as you progress in your life, and this is just a general statement, but more so academically. I think as you progress in your degree, as you progress in your qualification, things do get harder and tougher. And it requires you to adopt a better, stronger mindset to, of course, deal with things and, of course, perform not even better, but I think even just to the level that you expect for yourself. Obviously, to perform better, you have to even go above and beyond that. So understand that you doing the same thing is going to result in you getting lesser and lesser as the years progress. That is the truth. That is literally the truth. You do the same thing every year, you get lesser and lesser marks until you either fail, until you either get excluded, or until things don't go well for you. So you cannot reach your goals if you plan on doing the same thing year on year. It's not possible. That's not how things work. That's just basic human nature. It's basic sort of natural principles as well. So try and adopt the right mindset early. Try and build the right study habits early as well. I think there's a few videos I've already made on study habits. There's a few more, a lot more actually, that I'm going to make on the right study habits. So I want you guys to adopt the right study habits as soon as possible. Don't delay this for yourself. And apply the rest of these things that I've shared. I think it's so important that obviously you watch this, you enjoy this, but you apply it for yourself as you go along. And I think I make frequent videos because, some pose as reminders for certain things, others open your eyes to new things. But, you constantly sort of watching this content and also just applying for yourself and constantly refining, you'll see the results for yourself. I think the journey to great academic performance is not a sort of one shot, like this is it, but it's a build up. It's over time. It's a journey. It's a process. It's a long process. but it's a very worthwhile process, and definitely will open doors for you and even help you out once you get into the world of work. Because at the end of the day, why are we in university? To get a great job, to get great education, and sort of build a great life for ourselves. So always just keep that in mind. And as always, guys, I really hope this sort of gave you a bit of value, gave you a bit of perspective and understanding. Obviously, if it did, guys, the least you could do is just leave a like on this video. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel as well if you're obviously enjoying the content. And until the next one, let's continue on our journey in creating a better world.